Have you ever asked yourself, why don't I enjoy being around people like I used to? If that question feels familiar, you're not alone. After 70, many of us start pulling back from friends, social events, even family gatherings. Not because we've turned cold, but because something deeper has changed inside us. And here's the truth. Avoiding people isn't a sign of weakness. It's often a quiet form of wisdom, earned through decades of life experience, love, and loss. After the age of 70, many people begin to withdraw from social relationships, not because they no longer care, but because of subtle emotional, cognitive, and life experience changes that often go unnoticed. In this video, we'll explore 6 deep psychological reasons why older adults gradually distance themselves from friends and social circles. Past wounds and losses make you cautious with relationships. Have you ever felt a strange hesitation before picking up the phone to call an old friend? Or found yourself thinking, maybe I'll just stay home today, even when you were invited to a gathering? After 70, this hesitation isn't just about being tired. It's about something much deeper, the quiet weight of past wounds. As we age, we've lived through decades of joy, but also of heartbreak. Friendships that faded. Trust that was broken. People we loved deeply, who are no longer here. Every one of those moments leaves a mark, even when we pretend they don't. Take Mr. Raymond, for example. He used to be the center of every neighborhood barbecue. But after losing his wife, and drifting apart from a close friend over a misunderstanding, something changed. He didn't become bitter. He just stepped back. Slowly, quietly. Not because he didn't care. But because he'd learned the hard way, closeness comes with the risk of pain. When you've been hurt before, you're not quick to open the door again. This kind of emotional caution isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Psychologists call it protective withdrawal, a defense mechanism where the heart says, I've been through enough. Let me just stay safe now. And in many cases, it works. You avoid new disappointments. You protect your peace. But over time, it can also lead to isolation, loneliness, and even depression. So what's the solution? Not forcing connection. Not pretending to be someone you're not. But slowly, gently, rebuilding trust, on your own terms. Start with small steps. Respond to one message. Accept one lunch invite. Share a memory with someone you trust. Let your heart stretch, just a little. Because here's the truth, the world may have changed, people may have come and gone, but your story isn't over. There are still people out there who will value your presence, who will handle your heart with care. And no matter how deep the scars, your capacity for connection has not disappeared. It's still there, waiting. Waiting for you to say, maybe I'll try again. Just once more. Because after all the pain, there's still hope. The longing for peace over shallow conversations. Have you ever noticed how, as people grow older, silence starts to feel more like a friend than an awkward pause? After 70, many seniors begin to withdraw from social gatherings, not because they've become unfriendly or antisocial, but because they've discovered something far more valuable, peace. In earlier decades of life, we spend so much time keeping up, with work, with family, with friends. We go to parties we don't really enjoy. We chat about things we don't really care about. And we smile through conversations just to be polite. But after 70, that pressure begins to fade. Many older adults finally feel free to prioritize what truly matters to them. And often, that means choosing calm over chatter. Take Mr. Raymond, for example. He used to be the life of the party, always making people laugh, telling jokes, and filling the room with energy. But at 78, he rarely accepts invitations anymore. Not because he's lost his spark, but because he's found something better. I just like the sound of the birds now, he told me once. That kind of company doesn't ask anything of me. It's not about isolation. It's about intentional solitude. It's about trading shallow conversations for meaningful ones. Older adults often say that they'd rather have one deep talk with someone who truly listens than an entire evening of small talk that leaves them feeling empty. This doesn't mean they don't want connection, it just means they want it on their own terms. Noise feels heavier as we age. And quiet becomes sacred. For some younger people, this shift can be confusing. They may think their parent or grandparent is sad or disconnected. But the truth is often the opposite. Seniors are becoming more aligned with their inner needs. They've spent decades being on for others, now they just want to be themselves, without the pressure of performance. And honestly, isn't that beautiful? Imagine spending your days exactly how you want, listening to music, sipping tea, reading your favorite book, without the need to fill every silence. That's not loneliness. That's freedom. So the next time you wonder why someone older might skip a gathering or prefer to stay home, don't worry. They're not pulling away because they've given up. They're choosing peace because they've finally earned it. A growing sense that no one understands them anymore. As people enter their 70s and beyond, they often find themselves feeling like strangers in a world that once felt familiar. Technology, language, culture, even the way people connect, seem to have changed almost overnight. And while the world speeds up, many older adults begin to feel left behind, not because they can't keep up, but because their values, experiences, and stories no longer seem to matter in most conversations. This disconnect can create a deep emotional divide. Imagine sitting at a family gathering, surrounded by people you love, but feeling invisible. You try to share a memory or offer a thought, and people smile politely before changing the subject. Or worse, they pull out their phones. It's not that they're being rude on purpose, it's just that they don't truly understand where you're coming from anymore. And over time, those small moments accumulate into something bigger, a sense that your voice no longer fits into the rhythm of the world around you. Take Mr. Allen, a 78-year-old retired teacher. He once thrived in the classroom, inspiring hundreds of students. But in recent years, he found himself growing quieter at social events. His jokes didn't land the same. His advice was met with awkward silence. He realized that the people around him weren't trying to ignore him, they just didn't know how to connect with his stories, his metaphors, or the depth of what he had to share. So slowly, he began to withdraw, not out of sadness, but out of self-preservation. This is a story many older adults know well. It's not about being unwilling to socialize, it's about feeling unseen even when you're surrounded. When every conversation feels like a reminder that the world has moved on, it becomes easier, and emotionally safer, to retreat into solitude, where you don't have to explain or be misunderstood. But here's the important truth, the wisdom of elders is more relevant than ever. What may feel outdated to some is often a goldmine of perspective, resilience, and clarity. That's why creating safe spaces for seniors to share, be heard, and connect meaningfully is vital. If you're someone in your 70s or 80s, and this experience resonates with you, know that it's completely normal. You are not alone. You don't need a crowd, just one or two good listeners who value your presence and your past. Because even if the world seems to be racing forward, there is still immense power and peace in your words, your stories, and the life you've lived. And sometimes, stepping back isn't isolation, it's wisdom in choosing where your heart feels most understood. The fear of becoming a burden. One of the most unspoken but deeply felt reasons many people begin to withdraw from friends and loved ones after age 70 is the quiet, persistent fear of becoming a burden. It doesn't happen all at once. It starts with small hesitations, declining an invitation because you don't want someone to drive out of their way. Avoiding asking for help with heavy groceries. Staying silent about health concerns because you don't want to worry your children. What seems like independence on the outside is often a shield, one forged by years of being the caretaker, the provider, the strong one in the family. But as time passes, roles shift. The children you once cared for now care for you. Friends who used to walk beside you now walk ahead of you. And in these subtle shifts, many older adults begin to question their place. Am I still needed? Am I causing trouble? Am I making life harder for others? Take Mrs. Thompson, for example, an 80-year-old widow who used to host every holiday dinner, babysit her grandchildren, and never missed a church gathering. As her knees weakened and her stamina declined, she began to say no more often. Not because she didn't want to participate, but because she feared becoming the center of everyone's concern. I didn't want them to have to slow down for me, she once said quietly. But what Mrs. Thompson didn't realize, and what many seniors don't, is that love isn't a transaction. True connection doesn't come with a scoreboard. The people who care about you want to help, not because they have to, but because they genuinely want to. Every moment shared, every need met, every little inconvenience is, for them, a chance to show their love in action. Still, the fear lingers. It's rooted in pride, yes, but also in dignity. No one wants to feel like they're holding others back. So instead of asking for help, many older adults simply fade from social circles. They tell themselves, it's easier this way. But isolation is never the easier road, it's just the quieter one. And over time, that silence can become heavy. The truth is, your presence is not a problem. Your stories, your laughter, your companionship, they are gifts. And while it's natural to want to be independent, it's also deeply human to lean on others from time to time. So if you find yourself pulling back because you're afraid of becoming a burden, take a moment to reframe the thought. Your loved ones likely don't see you as extra weight, they see you as a treasure. Let them show you. Let them help. Because needing someone doesn't make you weak, it makes you wonderfully human. The quiet ending of old connections. Not all friendships end with conflict or drama. Some just fade. After the age of 70, many people start to notice that the relationships which once felt unshakable begin to dissolve, not through anger, but through silence. It's not that anyone did something wrong. It's that life, in all its seasons and shifts, slowly pulls people in different directions. You used to talk every week. Then it became once a month. Then just at Christmas. Then, not at all. This quiet drifting apart can be confusing, even painful. You might look back on shared birthdays, vacations, or late-night phone calls and wonder, what happened? And the truth is often simple, people grow. Circumstances change. And the connections that once thrived on shared routines, raising children, working in the same office, living in the same neighborhood, begin to wither when those routines disappear. Take Mr. Allen, for example, a 78-year-old retired professor who once met his best friend for coffee every Thursday for 20 years. But after his friend moved to another state to be closer to family, the calls slowed. Then the text stopped. There was no fight. Just distance. And eventually, silence. This kind of loss doesn't make headlines, but it leaves a quiet ache. It's the realization that your social circle is shrinking, not because of anything you did, but because life moves on. You may feel left behind, even if no one meant to leave you. What's even harder is accepting that sometimes, reconnecting isn't possible. People are busy. Priorities shift. Health fades. And so, rather than chasing what once was, many older adults begin to retreat further into solitude. But here's the truth, while it's normal to grieve those fading connections, it's also important to remain open to new ones. Just because a 40-year friendship has dimmed doesn't mean new joy is impossible. You are still capable of laughter, of discovery, of connection, if you're willing to look forward instead of only backward. Joining a book club, starting a new hobby, or simply saying hello to a neighbor can open doors you didn't expect. The most meaningful relationships don't always come from the past. Sometimes, they're waiting in the present. So if you find yourself feeling the sting of old friendships gone quiet, know this, you are not alone. Many feel the same way. And it's never too late to start a new chapter. Friendship isn't just about history. It's about presence. About showing up today. And while not every connection lasts forever, your ability to connect, to share, to care, to belong, remains timeless. The joy of stillness and learning to enjoy your own company. At some point in life, often after 70, a remarkable shift begins to take place. You stop seeking crowds and start savoring solitude. Not out of bitterness, not because you dislike people, but because you've discovered something precious: your own company is enough. For decades, your life may have been filled with noise, family gatherings, work deadlines, endless responsibilities. Time alone was rare, even a luxury. But now, with fewer demands and more stillness, you begin to realize that silence is not emptiness. It is peace. This newfound joy in solitude confuses some people. "Why doesn't she come to the parties anymore?" they whisper. "Why doesn't he call like he used to?" They assume you're lonely, withdrawn, or maybe even depressed. But the truth is often very different. Many older adults find that in solitude, they rediscover themselves. There's no pressure to perform, no need to explain or justify. You can wake up when you want, eat what you like, read what moves you, and simply be. There's freedom in that. A kind of dignity. Take Mrs. Jeanette, 81. Her children used to worry about her because she spent most of her time alone at home. But she wasn't sad. In fact, she was thriving. Her days were filled with gardening, journaling, listening to classical music, and taking long walks at her own pace. For the first time, she said, "I'm living on my terms." Solitude becomes a sanctuary, a space for healing and reflection. You're no longer racing to keep up with others' lives. Instead, you're tuning into your own rhythm. You might find joy in the small things: the sunlight on your porch, the sound of birds in the morning, the taste of your favorite tea. There's a common myth that being alone means being lonely. But solitude, when chosen, is a form of self-respect. It's not the absence of connection, it's the presence of inner peace. Sure, companionship is still important. But it no longer has to be constant. A short phone call, a smile from a neighbor, a letter from a grandchild, these moments become deeply fulfilling, because you're not looking for others to complete you. You're simply grateful to share space with them. So if you find yourself enjoying your own company more than ever, don't let anyone make you feel guilty. You've earned this peace. You've earned the right to slow down, to listen to your thoughts, to rest in the beauty of your own presence. At 70, 80, or beyond, solitude isn't a sign of decline. It's a sign of wisdom. Of someone who's been through the noise of life, and chosen, finally, to turn the volume down and hear what truly matters. And what you'll often find, is yourself.